everyone. My name is Natalia. I am with She Nailed It. This is our third episode, and so I want to thank you guys for being in attendance. And so I want to introduce you to Mr. Kenjuan Watkins. He is from Wilmington, North Carolina. Went to school at UNC Charlotte, and today we're going to be talking about college life and how it affects your mental health and kind of the things that he's done that he can help others who are in college right now kind of cope through their daily challenges, being away from family during holidays, seasonal times, right around this time of the year, and just that migration from coming from another location to a new location. So I'm going to throw the floor to you, Kenjuan, and if I didn't introduce you well, you can kind of add a little bit more to what I just told the world.
Yes, ma'am. So again, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, watching the other episodes and finally getting my chance to get on here and share. And I appreciate the invite, and I hope that to leave everyone with some gems and some tools that they can use to help them through this season.
Thank you. So again, you guys, before we get started, I want you to like, share our podcast on YouTube. Please go on Instagram, like us as well. Share it, let your friends know to watch and tune in because it will be airing. And I want you guys to be able to be a part of our podcast and where we're going to be going in the new year. But first, Kenjuan, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I know it's not something that you're used to, but I know when I thought about college life and I thought about my daughter and how she's navigating through college, because right now this is her, she's in her 4th year, and she was like, Mom, around this time of the year she gets down because she's away from family. And so I was like, it's crazy. I'm doing a podcast about college and how kids navigate through, being away from family, being in another environment, meeting new people. And so around this time of year, even though she's only an hour away, she still goes through her, separation anxiety. And so she was down the other day, so I was talking her through it. But it's so many people who don't have that support. And like, what would you tell those who are in college right now and they may be home, they can't go home for the holidays, maybe they stay too far away? What would you tell those children, like how to get through this time of the year?
Yeah, so that's a big thing, especially her being in her 4th year. I think everybody's circumstances will be different, but just kind of what I was able to use is my transition into college. I really wanted to make myself at home. You can never replace your family, your brothers, your sisters, your mom, but you also want to create a new family with your friends and just other people you might fellowship with or be a part of, classmates or organizations, so that can kind of supplement that anxiety that will come towards the holidays. When I went off to college, I lived 3.5 hours away.
Right.
And so, when we felt like we were missing our families, that's what we had, a support system from people like you, and your family inviting us to church and things like that, and also being joining the church and stuff like that. So we learned to develop our family outside of our immediate family, but also still keeping in touch, and then whenever we can make it down to see them, just making the most of our time.
That's good. Do you feel like that the universities and colleges have good support for those type of students that are going through? Do you feel like you got support from the school, or was it mostly from like friends and people that you got acquainted with?
And I think from the school, I think they do a great job. Okay. Now, I think that one thing that they might could do is better advertise it. But there are resources available if you need to go to the extent of like counseling or speaking to a mental health professional. But they always do events or gatherings to get everyone together, because I think they know that this happens. They just don't say, hey, come to this event because we know you're missing your family.
Right.
They might just say, like, come to this Christmas party to celebrate and fellowship with your other schoolmates. But I think the purpose behind it is because they understand what the season brings, and that some people are traveling all across the world to attend this university, so they want to make them feel comfortable being there.
Yeah, and that's good. I always wondered, like, how was the support? Because my daughter, she talked about the social workers that are at her college, but she didn't feel like it was good support. And so, of course, she has me, but I was just thinking about the kids that don't have that motherly love or that support from their family or friends. And so, for her to feel that way, it was like a little bothersome. So I was just like, maybe we could maybe put something in the air, or when it comes to those universities, to kind of help them with, helping children who don't have that support during this time of the year. But I know you spoke about creating like a family dynamic with your friends and, the people that you like us, when you met us. But what did you do, like going home, and like when you went home and then you had to leave, coming back, like how did you navigate that separation again? Because I even know when I moved here from Wilmington, I didn't come here to go to college, but I know going back home was like opening up the wound again. I'm like, should I go back home? Should I go back home? I was missing my mom.
Yeah.
And then the kids crying. It was just like, it was hard to like close that wound every single time, because of course you want to go home to see your family. So how did you do that? Because that's definitely opening up a wound when you go back home to like missing home again.
So it was challenging for my older brother because that was the first time. My mom didn't go to college, but I have a brother 1 year older than me.
Okay.
And so I saw everything that they dealt with them gathering his paperwork to go to college and them dropping him off, and they cried and stuff. So I kind of have had a benefit to him going a year before me, and I was kind of prepared, but actually being the person that my mom was like crying for and leaving and stuff, it was difficult, and I knew that when I went to college, I wanted to make her proud. But that the family thing is not really spoken a lot about, because people think college is just about going and doing schoolwork. Well, when you talk about social work and all these different components that will allow you to be, function at your highest level, you need that love and support and belonging. And if you don't have that, and if that is with your family in another city or state, some people might not prevail in college just because of the simple fact that they don't have a support system. They were gifted educationally to do it, but mentally or not having that love and support, they weren't able to. So again, like my brother, I saw a lot of things that worked for them and worked for him, and I was able to implement that in my process. I'll give a better response too, because even with my wife, she is the first in her family to go.
Right.
And so it was the same situation. Mother was very, very proud for her to move away and start this new transition, but it was very, very hard to see your oldest go, and it's not many times that you can make it 3.5 hours and kind of afford to do those things and be there. But the holidays is one of the times where you try to make it work, Thanksgiving and Christmas. But again, finding that support on campus, but also really, really valuing the time you have to spend together, was what got me through it.
That's good.
Yes, ma'am.
That's good. I know last year alone, I think at A&T, they had 2 suicides at their dorms because of course, mental health. I'm not sure the circumstances, so I can't speak on it, but I'm sure it was some lack of support, depression that kind of got that person to the point where they felt like they didn't want to be here anymore. Me and my daughter talked about that because I always want to ask that question, like, do you feel suicidal? Do you feel alone?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you got support? And so just being that support for her was definitely needed. I know another battle that causes anxiety with college students is the pressure from family going to college, and then now you're in college and you really don't know what you want to do, but you went because that was what you was told to do. Yeah. And then now when you leave in college, the battle is like, now what I do? I got to find a job.
Yeah.
Find a profession and with your degree and not wanting to go to waste. I've met so many people saying, I went to school for this, but now I'm doing this. Nothing compared to what their degree
at
is.
All.
So my daughter right now is going through a lot of pressure. She's going to get her master's, of course, whenever she leaves, A&T. But she was worried about where I'm gonna get a job at, just that career phase. Now I'm finished college. She want to get into her career, and so that's like a stressful.
Very stressful.
Subject all by itself. And so how did you navigate through that? Like whenever you graduated, and I know you kind of still going through.
Yeah. So I'll walk you through it. It actually started before I got into college. I got into UNC Charlotte. I got into the engineering program because I was really good at STEM and science and math. Like, I love it even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Got into the engineering program, did the orientation with my parents. They told me all the benefits. I had my own suite, my own dorm. They had career fairs every 6 months. My mom and them, like from like Duke Energy and the wastewater treatment plant, like all these places would come to UNC Charlotte, and you just could give them a cover letter and resume, and they would help line you up a job for when you graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like 2 weeks before school started, I told my parents I don't want to do that program, so I actually went into school undecided. They took my dorm. They placed me in. They took my suite. They placed me in the very, very worst dorm. It was the ugliest dorm.
I remember that.
Dorm.
I
Yes.
remember that. You was way in the back.
Way in the back with these tall white dorms that did not match the campus. And just they used to. So the building was called Moore Building, but they called it Moldy Moore. Like, they stripped me of everything. So I already was dealing with that.
Okay.
And then on top of being African American at a predominantly white institute, like, a lot of the people who were cheering for me to go to college was like, yeah, you made it to college, but why didn't you go to HBCU?
Mm-hmm.
And so dealing with the stress of that, like, did I make the right decision? Am I going against the grain? Then kind of my girlfriend at the time, she got pregnant in her first semester.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to figure that out. And it was a lot before I even got to graduation. And so
I know.
it's a lot of pressure and stress that went into it. But kind of fast forward to the graduation piece, I had a lot of support from my church, because when you introduced me to Bethel Temple Faith Church,
Mm-hmm.
and you would bring us on Sundays and let us stay to your house on the weekend, and we would do our homework that's due at Sunday at 11:59. I know everybody know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But just spending that time with you and seeing how he would work, how God would work with your family, really showed us that we don't have a family yet, but we're working towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And the same people that you were connected to, we were able to connect with, get these words from Bishop Bertram Hinton, and we were able to really just push through, and even things that we didn't understand at the time, God allowed it to happen. So when we did graduate, we both had jobs. And I don't know how it happened, but everything that we were worried about, once we walked across the stage, my wife and I, Makai, both walked into a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And she went on to get her master's degree. She had a full-time job after that. And I'm currently in progress with mine. And I know God is going to,
do
put me in a
what he
position
did before,
as well.
he'll do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. Your story is kind of different from mine because, I had my daughter at 20, and then I went to school, dropped out of school, went to school again, dropped out again, and then I moved up here in 2009. I was 24. And I was a CNA at the time. I was working for a nursing home, and I transferred up here. Transferred my job up here, and then I was working there. I got enrolled in Central Piedmont downtown. So I was doing the nursing program, and I really didn't want to be a nurse, but it was like the next best thing to do after being a CNA. But I felt in my spirit, I was like, I don't want to do this, but just go ahead and elevate from being a CNA. And so I was in class one day, and I was it was my math class. And I was sitting next to a girl named Cautious Burgess. She don't even know how much she changed my life. But if she's watching this, thank you, girl. She doesn't even know the story. But I was sitting next to her, and I asked her what she was going to school for. And she said human services. And I was like, you mean human resources? And she was like, no, human services. So I said, what is that? And she was like, social work. And I was like, really? That day, I went to that department, and I spoke with Mr. Matthew McDonald. That was his name. And I told him that I wanted to be in the program. I wanted to do human services. I told him why, because I'm kind of like the go-to person all my life with my friends, my family. So it was something I was already doing anyways. Yeah. And so I felt like that was a pivotal point in my life from God, that he allowed her to be that person next to me to say, hey, this is what I'm going to school for. Yeah. Because God already knew I didn't want to be a nurse. And so, but you don't never know your path, you know what I'm saying, your purpose. until it's a certain point in your life where you have that pivotal point that God puts the right person in your life, and He just kind of navigate you along the way. And so once I talked to them and I got into the program, I graduated in 2016 with my associates. Then I went on to Walden University online. Still working at the hospital, still a CNA, and I got my bachelor's at Walden University. I became a peer support specialist in 2016, and that's how I started in the mental health field. Then after that, I got my master's at Walden again. And here I am. I'm a licensed clinical social worker now, and I'm a licensed clinical substance abuse counselor. And I say that to say you never know your way. You never know how you're going to navigate through college, how you're going to get to your purpose and your point. Everybody's story is different, and that's why I like to tell my daughter, like, don't put so much pressure on you.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's out there that is in college right now and they may not know where they're going, what they're going to do, like, don't look at your now, because you never know what God has for you, what your purpose is going to be, who He's going to send your way to, like, navigate you through to where He wants you to be. Yeah. And so I never would have thought that I was going to be an entrepreneur like the way I am. I never would have thought I would have opened this company. It was all God's plan. Like, it wasn't my own. So that's why when people say, I'm so proud of you, I be like, God did it. Yeah. I don't care if they be tired of me saying it. I'm like, I give all the glory to God. Always. I don't take no credit. It's all Him, because this wasn't my dream. This wasn't what I had in store, but God had it in store for me, and I do it with grace. I do it with love. I do it effortlessly because I love what I do, so it's not work. And so I tell that to anybody who don't know their purpose, don't know where they're going. Just trust God, allow Him to lead the way, and just do what you can while you can, and just don't stress.
Yeah, don't stress. And I like that point too, and I'll add this before we move. And I learned this phrase maybe like a month ago from one of the elders at the church, and it was, he said, you never know who's going to be a ram in the bush. You ever heard that before? A ram in the bush.
Who told you that?
Elder Black told me.
I know he did.
So I'm like, when you said that, he was like, you never know who ram you will be, and you never know who will be your ram. Yeah. And my ram in the bush was when I was going through all the pressure and stuff. My first semester, I had a UCall class. Well, it was undecided, but they put me in a social work class, and this one person, Mr. Professor Edwards Knight, had this really distinct voice, but he would always call on me to make sure I was doing my work. We had to do vocabulary words, and I wouldn't do it because I'm gonna just be honest. The club was free on Thursday, and I had his class at Friday morning at 8, so I wasn't really doing much work in his class, but he changed my life that I even declared social work major and started pursuing it because of how he treated me, and he was my ram in the bush. And it sounds like that lady that told you about human services was that ram in that bush that was supposed to be there at that time to change your trajectory of your life. And so you never know. And I think even you were mine in some time when we would go over and see you doing your schoolwork, and you letting us borrow the car to go to church and go to school, and all these different things of like you just doing what you're called to do, but you're changing someone else's life. So thank you for that, and thank you for my ram in the bush and whoever ram I end up being in life
you
as
don't
well.
Know, you don't know who we're encouraging. You don't know who God's going to send us to encourage. That's why we gotta stay, definitely stay in our word, stay connected to God, so we can be able to hear His voice clear enough to know our calling, our purpose, and the will that He has for us. I know I was in speaking back when I was in school really quick, and you think about rams in the bush. I was thinking about Mr. McDonald again, because at that time I was working night shift, 11 to 7, well 7 to 7 at the hospital. And I would get off work at 7 o'clock in the morning, go take the kids to school, and then have to be to school at 8:30. So I'm in Mr. McDonald's class. I'm literally falling to sleep every time. I know he like, this girl always sleep in my class. And but I wish I could find him and see him, because I just thank God that He didn't fail me. Yeah. It was not always like I'm literally sleeping in his class. And one day he asked me, he's like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah," because I was still having my work clothes. I couldn't make it home to take a shower. I had to go straight to school. And so he'll be like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work at night." And the moment I told him that I work at night, he never bothered me again.
Oh.
He passed me, and I know I didn't pass those tests. Like, it was some tests I would fail. I was just like, I don't even care, but I kept going.
Yeah.
I kept going, and when I graduated in 2016, I had just I'm gonna tell you how determined I was. I had just had Samir, and I had him on a Friday, and we had to be back. Well, my class was Tuesday. I went to school like 4 days later after I left the hospital. Yes, I was not supposed to do that, but that's how determined I was. I was like, I am going to graduate on time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to be out there. You know, like the old people say, you're not supposed to be out there. But I was out there, and I went to class, and I graduated that following May.
Wow.
And then here I am, like, and I wish I could find him because he'll be so proud of me. But that's my little story of how I got to where I'm at. So
yeah, I appreciate that story.
But I want to thank you again for coming on, kind of telling your story, encouraging those who are in college, because it's so much that's not talked about, and it's so much that could be helped when it comes to support for the client. Well, for the children that are in college that don't have the support from their family and friends. So I hope they can get on this podcast and get some valuable information. Get the support they need, and then we'll also like kind of at the end of this podcast kind of give some resources such as suicide hotline, just to kind of give anybody any type of resources they may need to have that support if they don't have anybody to talk to. But we definitely appreciate you coming on She Know the podcast.
Thank you. And I appreciate it for being here.
Yeah.
And so thank you again for this chance and this opportunity. Listeners, just know that you're not the only one going through what you're going through. Just kind of build you a foundation, starting with Christ, and just continue to push forward because you never know what's on the other side of that door.
Thank you.